every day you and I get bombarded with negative news. Just like the body becomes what we eat, the mind becomes what we're putting in. It is important to listen to stories that not only gives you hope, but also inspires you and uplifts you. In this podcast, we're interviewing experts who will break down the solutions to the world's most pressing problems. And I promise you, if you listen to this podcast, you will not only stay informed, but you will also feel more energy in your life. Welcome to Great.com Talks with. Great.com is a philanthropic project where we're donating 100% of the profit towards the most effective cause areas. Right now, we're focusing on climate change, protecting the rainforest, funding climate change technology. And the best thing that you can do to help us in that mission will be to subscribe to this channel. Today, the topic is, how can we create a society where individuals feel like they are leading the change to a more brighter future? That is a tricky question, and to understand more about this, we invited Meg Maloney, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Points of Light. Meg, welcome to this interview.
Thank you so much, Baird. It's great to be here.
Meg, help us understand, because you do a lot of different things. What would you say is the problem that you guys are working with?
There's a problem and an amazing opportunity in our mission at Points of Light. Our mission is to inspire, equip, and mobilize people to take action that changes the world. So it really fits in with the intro that you gave, that question you're striving to answer. It's one we strive to answer as well. And our belief is that every action matters and has an impact. It can have a positive impact, a negative impact, but it has an impact. And the choices that people make, how they use their own agency, matters for things large and small in the world. And all problems and issues and challenges in the world, whether it is climate change, social justice, battling COVID, or anything else, people have to be at the center of change. That's where change has to come from. It's where it has to drive it, and that's certainly what will sustain it. If you don't involve the people that are impacted by decisions, the decisions won't last very long, won't be experienced well. And so these small actions all total up to something big, and that could be through service like volunteerism, which is something we focus on a lot at Points of Light. We have an amazing network of 172 affiliates around the world in 37 countries, and their job is to connect the people who want to give back and help and change their community with issues and organizations that are doing the work already and on the ground, so that they can put their passion to work. And the work of those affiliates is transforming each community that they're in the way that meets the needs of that specific community. And that's the second part of what we believe at Points of Light. So we believe every action matters, and that change starts from the individual. And then the second piece is we believe the community needs to identify what their priorities are and how they see best to address them. And so that's kind of where Points of Light sits. It sits where those two things meet, and we try to equip individuals and organizations, nonprofits, and companies to kind of further that work with those principles.
So if I would try to summarize what you're saying is, you're putting the power back to the people, to the individuals, to empower individuals to take the actions that will help society, and then they get to decide whatever need they see and prioritize where they want to put their engagement. And you're saying that you're connecting different sectors of society to work together. Is that?
That's also right. Yeah. And so we want to equip the individual, like you said, to take the action they see make the change they see in their community, and make connections between organizations, whether it's a local nonprofit that needs volunteers, or a company that has skilled employees that want to give their time and talent to a local effort. So we make those connections so that the community can further its goals faster.
Okay, thanks. That helps to paint the overall picture. If we then talk about the I guess, more specific work, could you give an example? Because you mentioned that you're doing multiple problems that you're trying to solve, like climate change, social injustice, COVID. Could you talk about one of the, help us understand the specific work that this implies? What does this mean?
Sure. I'll take COVID, for example. I know it's so pressing for so many people, and COVID is one of those issues that if there was an area where a community where people were vulnerable before, they're usually more vulnerable and more stressed now. And so the need for volunteerism, the need for civic engagement was really amplified because of COVID, but COVID also made it harder for people to engage in the ways they traditionally thought about it, because you had to social distance, it was harder to volunteer, and so forth. And so our activities in response to COVID have a couple of forms. One, those local affiliates I mentioned that are on the ground, they're working in communities in Denver and Tel Aviv and London and Mumbai, and they are safely delivering tens of thousands of meals to people who can't always go to the food bank anymore because their needs are the access to be there is not as much as it used to be. They're doing phone health checks with homebound individuals to make sure if they have a prescription or any other need. They're doing tens of thousands of those, especially in New York and Texas and California. It's really been an amazing volunteer effort in a few areas to check on tens of thousands of seniors. And we're doing a lot of volunteer work to help bridge the education gap that has happened with COVID, as so many families have struggled to support their kids as they need to keep up with schoolwork in a remote environment. And so we have virtual tutoring programs and support to get technology and Wi-Fi to families that need it, all happening, through those local affiliates and our company partners that are listening to the needs of the community and helping them respond.
I almost see a picture of myself, and let's imagine that I have a mother who's isolated, and I feel empathy for being people who's alone. Then I decide I want to do something. So I find people who can volunteer, and I help other people who are isolated and alone. So I guess then a core part of what I'm understanding from Points of Light is the network. The network is very important between different sectors. Can you help us understand what is it with the network that makes this so special? Why is the network a crucial part?
I think you touched on one piece of it. You're exactly right. The network is key because it allows us to have something that is working in one community, in Canada or, in Florida, and then another community can learn from that. They don't have to invent it themselves. And so we can make connections across communities, share learning, and share inspiration. And that is a key component to the network. But the other main word that you just said that is really a key part of everything that Points of Light does is empathy, and helping to look at the work that needs to happen in a specific community, but across other communities, and help make the case for more work to happen. So I'll give an example. When COVID first started to take hold in the world, our affiliates in Asia, took special care. They were in a pretty chaotic time trying to figure out how to respond, and it wasn't as big of an issue in the U.S. or Europe yet. And but while they were in the middle of dealing with their local crisis, they took the time out to do some special conversations and trainings with our network here in the States, and really allowed those organizations to understand what communities were about to experience with COVID, what they were about to have to brace for, and really helped us empathize with what was going to happen. And so our affiliates in the States and in Europe were more prepared and had less of a chaotic time trying to figure out how they were going to mobilize and respond. And that kind of shared knowledge and shared empathy allows the strength of one community to extend past that community's borders. And that's a really big part of how we see our network being stronger for every new individual and every new organization that joins us.
I'm hearing two things. The networks allows people to act upon their empathy that they're feeling. And then the network also allows for learning so that we don't have to invent the wheels when we also rather have the solution in one place. This organization, Points of Light, you've been around for quite some time now, right?
Yeah, we've been around for 30 years. Sorry, one moment, there's a print.
If I read on the website, it says that you've been around since 1990 or 1980, before 1990. So
1989, that's correct.
1999. And you have millions of people volunteering in this network. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have about 5 million volunteers across all of our networks.
So it's really a global network.
Right.
And help me to understand more about the specific things individuals can do themselves, and what kind of services do you guys provide in this network?
Sure. So this is my favorite thing to talk about. Because you really can do almost anything that you can imagine. You can get connected to other people who are thinking like you and care about the same issues and get started. One of the things we like to say is we want to help people get off the sidelines and engaged in the issues they see in their community. And so what some examples are is you can search, we have a website called Engage, Points of Light Engage, and it lists 150,000 activities a year to choose from. And they're just the most diverse and amazing inventory of options. So you could help an animal shelter take care of the cats that are in there and have been kind of isolated and haven't had a good caretaker. You can work with seniors and do a Zoom talent show night with seniors right now and show off your talents on Zoom. You can help tutor a young teen who is trying to be the first person in their family to go to college, both on the academics, but also what to prepare for in that college experience. And you could do a river cleanup or write some advocacy letters for an environmental organization that shares the passions that you might have about climate change and the environment. So there is no shortage of opportunities and issues that need support today, and it's inspiring and motivating. Hopefully, when people see it, that's certainly how I experience it, to see the work that is happening out there. And if you can lend your time and talents, and make those issues kind of get addressed a little bit faster, a little bit better with your energy, then those organizations will really benefit from that work.
This reminds me of one of our previous guests said that right now is one of the best times to be alive, because you get to take all of your resources, all of your beautiful things inside of you, and put them out there to make a better world. So because there's so many challenges, we get the opportunity to test our own capacity to face those challenges. And what I'm hearing here is you are helping people to just realize that potential by giving options. And I read on the website that you talk about civic century. Tell us, what is the civic century? And
Sure. So that's a term we have. We think when people look back on this time, they'll see the kind of undercurrents of a big change in societies around the world. One where it's led by people's engagement in their communities through all kinds of civic activities. So we've been mostly talking about volunteering as the activity during this discussion, but we believe in a whole kind of list of different civic activities. People can use their voice and share what they care about and amplify causes to their networks and friends, and try to help influence change that way. People can leverage change through their workplace and how they motivate their peers, colleagues, and employers in how they do work. And people can vote. Obviously, people can use their purchase power to send a message to companies about the causes they care about, from the supply chain that a manufacturer might use to the people they use to advertise their products. And so there's volunteerism plus all of these different activities, which we shorthand and kind of call the civic circle, with a person at the center. They have all of these activities around them that are their superpowers. And there's so much happening right now. You see it in so many different communities about people leveraging these civic superpowers to drive change. And so we think when people look back at this time, they'll call it the civic century in the same way, other times have been defined by the driving economics or something else of that period. We think this people power is going to define the time that we're in right now. And that's a really exciting thing, and something where we think if the more people who have microphones like yourself, Spirit, or have different types of influence get involved with lifting this up, the more we can accelerate that process and get more people off the sidelines and involved with the civic century. Because our point of view is that when more people are involved with diagnosing the challenges that we want, and then helping to design the next phase, the solution or the positive impact we want to see, when more people are involved in that end of the decision making, we'll get better outcomes. And so we want to make that initial part of the decision making process, where that part of the power structure is, as inclusive and as expansive as possible, so that we have the best likelihood that the efforts that we use to improve education, to improve the economy, to improve the environment, have the best shot at success, because we've had the best minds and the best efforts in that front end, the highest level of engagement as possible. And so we know that these problems are big. They're going to take time. So we use the word century. It's not just the civic decade. And so that's where that term kind of comes from, and what it means to us at Points of Light.
An overall feeling I'm having from hearing the work that you're doing is that Point of Light is almost like the transcendent from empty, dark, isolated, quiet, apathy kind of feeling, almost like an empty ghost town. And then you fill it with empathy, where there's life, movement, joy, kind of sunshine. So I see a transcendent from apathy to empathy as a collective.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to say it. And another partner of ours once said, the engagement and connections that happen through Points of Light and others. There's Points of Light's not the only group doing this, but it is an antidote to apathy. Engagement, civic engagement can be an antidote to apathy, and we love that framing that one of our partners kind of had, and how he explained our work to his peers. And so I think you're kind of pinpointing something that's really, really true for us, and hopefully the spark each individual has to go through to get engaged, they feel that transition into a kind of an energy and zone where they know their action matters, and therefore they're very thoughtful and hopeful about how they act and the impact that action will have.
So you're almost solving two problems in one. If you can help someone who feels more apathy to be more engaged, you would help that person to feel more vibrant, and that would also then benefit society. So it's a double win for society, engaging in Points of Light. We're moving towards the end here, and I would like you to can you summarize what do you want? What is important for people to? What would you like to leave people with as a message, and what kind of support are you guys looking for right now?
I think the number one message we have is that every action matters. And so if there's a cause or an issue you care about, to take action, to if you're on the sidelines, to get off the sidelines. If you're already engaged, use your voice to help others understand why you're engaged in this issue, and potentially enlist them to be part of your effort as well. So our number one message is that the power is within each individual to make change, and we want them to do that. And if Points of Light and our affiliates that are around the world can help, that's exactly where we want to be, right at that moment of inspiration, where you want to help and you're looking for a way to connect. Then you can go to pointsoflight.org. You can find one of our local affiliates, or just or if you just want to help a neighbor, there's something beautifully simple, but dramatically impactful about all of those options for taking action.
Meg, thank you very much for taking the time, clarifying the work that you're doing, sending hope to a greener, I guess, and brighter society.
Thank you, Spirit. I really appreciate the time and you taking this resource of your podcast to highlight this issue and this activity. It means a lot to us at Points of Light, so we really appreciate it.